Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I'm Dana K. White. I share my personal deslobification process. As I figure out ways to keep my own home under control, I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that actually work in real life for real people, people who don't love cleaning and organizing. Thanks for joining me today. This is podcast number 428, and I am answering your decluttering questions. So these are questions that were asked over at askdanakWhite.com. If you go there, just go to type in askdanakWhite.com and it will take you to a form or you can submit a question. I answer these. I'm kind of aiming here as I'm beginning another year, and I think I'm going to be real organized. We'll see how it goes, to do one of these a month where I answer questions from here. I also answer them on Tuesdays on YouTube Live. Okay, so I'll take questions from askdanakWhite.com for about the first half of that hour, and then I will answer questions from those who are watching live for the second half. Okay. All right. So let's start with our first question. What do you do when you have clutter piles because there is no furniture or container? I have 2 cold cellars in my basement, and none of these spaces has anything in them but the things I need to put away. I don't know what to get or how to pick things out to store my stuff. Everything is just on the floor. Plenty of space, though. Okay, so this is a great question, and a question I get a version of a lot, which is, people understand, okay, decluttering is the thing, organizing is not the thing, because they've heard me say that. They're grasping that concept, and they're like, but at what point do I buy new furniture, right? Like, at what point do I buy something to put in a space to hold things? All right. Now, this is somebody with a new home. You're in a new home. And so sometimes you have to buy furniture for a new home. But here is my advice on this. You said there is stuff that's in this space that I'm assuming you have followed my decluttering process, and that this stuff is in that specific cold cellar. Not exactly sure what that means, because I live in Texas. We don't have basements or anything like that. But you have stuff in these cold cellars, and they are there because you would look for those things first in this specific cold cellar, right? So there is a reason why the stuff that's in there is in this specific space. But I am going to say that even if that's how this works, right? Like, even if you've been following this process, the first thing I would do is, a room at a time, I would go in there and I would go through the decluttering process with everything that is in that space. Because here's the thing. When you know that you probably need some sort of furniture or containers or shelving because there isn't any in this space, it feels like that's the first step, is to go get the shelves. But the problem is, if you haven't decluttered first, if it's stuff, then you have no concept of how much shelving you need. And most likely, if you're anything like me, you're going to be imagining what kind of shelving you need. Right? And I just don't do well at that. And so what I have learned is to declutter first, even though that might mean living in a time period of, oh, I really need shelves in here. I don't have any shelves in here. It's not perfect. It's not the way it's actually going to be, but do the decluttering first. Go through all the stuff in there. Because most people listening to me right now are not in a situation where they only have what they absolutely should have in their home, right? Like, so I'm kind of assuming that there's some boxes in there that need to be gone through. So go through the stuff and without pulling everything out, and just look for, as best you can, box by box, look for, is there any trash in here? Surely there's not trash. Surely I didn't pack up trash and move it. But when you go through the box and the boxes, or the stuff that's on the floor, and say, is there any trash in here? Sometimes it will register, oh, that didn't register as trash when I was packing up my old house. But now actually, yeah, it is. Like I can now see that it is trash that's broken or whatever. Is there anything in this space that's easy that I already know where it should go in the rest of the house? As I'm looking through things, I realize, oh, how did this box get put down here? This is actually the box of, mugs that I have been wondering where this box was, so go through that process, go through, anything that's easy, it goes ahead and goes to its home. Is there anything in here? Let me look at it purposefully, looking for donations. Like, is there anything in here that I actually don't need? Because sometimes when you're packing up, especially there at the end, which I would assume that's kind of where the cellar, the cold cellar or whatever might be, where you go and stick stuff that you were packing up at the end and doesn't have a major definite prioritized place in the main part of the house. I'm just going to go through here and say, is there anything in here that's actually a donation? Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. And then I keep going through the process. If I needed this item, where would I look for it first? So that if it goes somewhere else in the house, it goes to that spot. If it's actually something I would never go looking for, well, then I'm not going to store it in this cellar anyway, right? And then you get it down to the point where, and you said, I believe you said in your thing that there's plenty of room. But you get to the point where you're like, okay, I only have in this room stuff that I would actually go looking for in my house, and that this room is where I would go looking for it. And most likely going through that process, you are going to reduce how much stuff you have. And then you're going to know what kind of containers or shelving or furniture do I need to buy for this space. So it's not an issue of you can't buy furniture, but buying furniture is not a clutter solution. So go ahead and declutter, going through the process, and then buy according to how much, I say that wrong actually. You're not actually buying it according to how much stuff you want to keep. You only have what you need, but you're still buying the furniture for the space. So however big this space is, let's say it's a 10 by 10 room. Well, and I literally have no idea because I don't actually know what a cold cellar is. I'm sorry. What if this is all about vegetables? What if we've been talking about vegetables and I've sat here and said, where would you look for this carrot in your house? Anyway, I don't know. It sounds like it's a storage space, right? So you've got that and you go, this is how much space I have for shelving or for a dresser or something or containers in this space. That's the actual space that I have for that. So that's how big of a shelving unit I'm going to buy for me to also be able to enter this space, access everything that I need. That is it. And then you go through the process of, okay, now that I have this actual furniture item, I'm going to, out of these boxes that have been left in here and that I've gotten everything out that definitely didn't need to be in here, I'm going to take those favorite things out first, put those things on the shelf. And once the shelf is full, then that determines how much of that stuff I can actually keep. Okay. So it's declutter first before you start coming up with figuring out what kind of furniture you need. Determine the furniture or storage system that you need according to the space, not the stuff, and then let that be the deciding factor. I hope that made sense. All right. Next, lost our 10-year-old Shepherd Mastiff recently. Suddenly, I'm very sorry about that. Miss him so much. How does one memorialize a loved animal without going crazy with things that will not be wanted when the sadness is not overwhelming? So again, first of all, I'm just very sorry for your loss. I know that this is devastating. It's very hard. One of the things that I have heard stated about grief, and my mom had told me this with people that she has known, who've lost their husband. But the general thing I've heard with grief is to not make big decisions in the first year. Okay. Now there may be some plus or minus here with, depending on your current situation. But the reason that I bring that up is sometimes, especially when you have maybe been doing well with decluttering and you're like, okay, my house is under control. And now this event, this traumatic event has happened. I'm feeling all the feelings. How do I apply all these things that I've learned to this situation so that I don't end up keeping a bunch of stuff that I'm going to regret in the future? Because I know I think differently about clutter now, but how do I do that in this very, very difficult situation? To know that you don't have to make your final decisions immediately. Okay. It may take some time. It may be some time. So give yourself a little grace, because I just think sometimes when we're like, okay, I see my stuff differently now, so that means I should be able to make this decision immediately. It's a hard situation that you're in. Give yourself a little time, right? But the other thing that I would say is go with the container concept. Okay. Where would I look first for stuff from my beloved, pets? And so that is going, the size of that space that you actually have to devote to this is going to determine how much memory laden items, how many memory laden items you're going how many memory laden items, see if I can talk, I can actually keep, right? Like, okay, so when you think of it that way, sometimes that's the thing that helps you realize I really can't keep anything other than the photos that we have, right? Like, I don't actually have space in my home for the memories of past pets. I'm going to have to stick with the pictures that I have, the photos that I have on my phone or printed out in albums or whatever it is that I have. So that will be often the thing that will help you acknowledge and accept what you need to do. But let's say you do have, okay, this is the place where I would look first for these special items, whether it's on the shelf, I want to display it or whatever. That size of that space that doesn't take up space that you need for other things that you are actually currently having to do in life, that space determines. So then you pick your favorite thing that most reminds you. I would say, thankfully, I'm not, currently, that's a weird thing to say, right? Like, I think of my dog Cinder and I'm like, what is the thing that would most make me think of her? Well, it would be her little silver water bowl that she doesn't use for water. I guess it's more of a food bowl. Whatever. It's her silver dish that she plays with nonstop. She loves to flip that dish. And I'm like, that thing is the thing that reminds me of her. So if I was going to place something for that purpose, that's the thing I would keep, right? And that brings up all the warm, fuzzy, happy feelings. But if I keep every single thing that my dog ever played with, well, then it doesn't bring those feelings, right? So it's the identify the space where I would look for it first. How big is that space? And let's go with the most important. And often it rarely becomes an issue of, okay, well, then I can keep this many things. It's like when I acknowledge there's a limit, that's when my brain goes, oh, actually, here's the one thing. You know what? And then I'm able to keep that, and I'm able to have the feelings, and I'm able to be able to handle that in my home. Okay. Next question. It is so helpful to use awkward pauses and see what needs to be done and do it right in that moment. But I've found that it puts me in tidying mode constantly. How do you keep from feeling like you're putting things away in every single spare moment? I love this question. This is such a great question. And I think it comes from a lot of us being all or nothing people, right? And maybe some of us not really trusting ourselves to be able to do this. And so we're like, okay, she said awkward pauses, so I'm going to use my awkward pauses, and now I have a bunch of awkward pauses and I feel like I'm constantly doing things, and then I'm resentful of that. And then it makes me not want to use my awkward pauses and things get back out of control, right? So first of all, what she's talking about is, which I guess it could be a man. Maybe it's a man that wrote that, but I don't know. I screenshotted these to have them. And so I can't go back and look right now. Sorry for assuming that. But anyway, we all know it's a she, right? She is saying that she's using awkward pauses to do little bits of tidying. So when I talk about awkward pauses, I'm talking about those moments in your day where you have a little bit of time, but it's not much time. And so my natural tendency is to think this is not enough time to get anything done, but I've got so much to do, right? Like, I'm trying to work on my house, but this 7 minutes between dropping one kid off at school and then having to go pick up another one or whatever, those 7 minutes, that's not long enough. Okay. So it's the knowing what to do that needs to be done in my house and then saying, okay, I know that I need to do dishes. I only have 7 minutes. I won't be able to do all my dishes, or I might actually, but I'm going to spend these 7 minutes doing dishes so that 7 fewer minutes I have to do later, right? And using those awkward pauses is really powerful, right? Is acknowledging that I know what needs to be done. Therefore, when I have these small pockets of time, I can do those things that need to be done and get them done. But here's the thing. You're asking, now I feel like I'm constantly up and doing that. When I'm talking about awkward pauses and getting things done, the reason they're effective is because I know what to do. Knowing what to do also helps me know that I don't have to do everything, right? And what I mean by that is I have 4 basic habits that I recommend you really focus in on, whether your house is completely out of control or whether you're just trying to keep it maintained and keep it under control. Okay. Both of them, these things work no matter what. But the 2 main habits are doing the dishes and doing a 5-minute pickup every day. Okay. Doing the dishes, at some point you're finished doing the dishes, right? I mean, I know not finished, like you're not going to have to do them again as soon as you eat, but you're finished. It's like an actual task that you are done with at some point. So an awkward pause, knowing that the dishes are the key, then I know that I have this awkward pause in the morning. I go work on the dishes. I have another awkward pause around 1:00 in the afternoon. I go I'm done with the dishes. Okay. So now I don't have to feel guilty about dishes anymore, right? Like it's not a nagging thing. I've done them. Yeah, I'm going to need to do them after dinner tonight, but like, to keep things going. But then if I do them after dinner tonight, well, then I don't have dishes to do at, in the morning other than just the breakfast. I mean, it's like, so it builds on itself and there is a finish line. There's a finish point, a dishes finish line. The other thing is the 5-minute pickup. Now, when I say a 5-minute pickup, I mean do a 5-minute pickup every day. It doesn't mean that you might not need to do more than that, but I'm saying do a 5-minute pickup every day. So what I would recommend for you, since you're feeling this way, and what we don't want is for you to end up in a situation where you are rebelling against this and saying, well, then I'm just not going to do anything because that's ridiculous. I feel like I'm constantly going. No, do a 5-minute pickup every day. Whether that means, I had a 2-minute awkward pause here, so I did 2 minutes here, and then I did 3 minutes later when I had an awkward pause. You've done a 5-minute pickup for that day and feel good that you've accomplished that. Okay. And see the power of just having done that 5 minutes. And then tomorrow do another 5 minutes, and then tomorrow do another 5 minutes, and you will see how it will build on that. And you'll see that if the more I declutter, the more power of those 5-minute pickups. Okay. So if you are in big time decluttering mode, if you are spending every awkward pause that you have getting more decluttering done and you're really truly getting things out of your house, decluttering, not just moving stuff around, it's all going to make it so much easier. And that's where there's a lot of power in working a little bit all day long, right? Like you are going to start making really big progress. And then as you're doing a 5-minute pickup every day and you realize, okay, I've been doing enough decluttering that a 5-minute pickup actually gets my house under control. Then you go, okay, well, I did my 5-minute pickup and my dishes are done. And, I swept my kitchen floor and I checked my bathrooms for clutter in the awkward pauses that I had. And okay, well, I get to relax because I've done the things. I've done the things that need to be done, right? So it's that knowing what it is that you're accomplishing during that 5 minutes, not just, I have a little awkward pause, I should work during the awkward pause. No, it's knowing what to do so that I then know what to do during the awkward pause. But then knowing what to do means there's a done point and an end point. Okay. So we don't end up resenting it. Here's a fun question about Patreon. I love answering questions. Those of y'all who are new here, we do have a private Facebook group for our Patreon members. So you can go to patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean, find out more about joining our, we call ourselves the Kindred Spirits. And anyway, there's several perks to being a Patreon member. But this question says, I love your system. It works really well for me in my home and in my classroom. I do not fall into the quote, not seeing messes category, but I would love to be part of the Kindred Spirits group. I'm just not sure if it's allowed or it would make it uncomfortable. Okay. So basically what I believe that you're asking here is it okay to be in the group and not be majorly struggling? And I would say absolutely. We have all levels. We've got people who've been in there for years and have made huge, huge progress, and, encourage everybody else. The main issue is that everybody's just working on things for their own space. I think years ago I had to say something about, hey, because we occasionally had some people who would be like, say something like, that's not a messy enough space when somebody would post it. That doesn't happen anymore. Okay. Or it better not. But, so we had to, put it as stop to that. But we have people of all levels. I mean, truly, truly of all levels. And that's the beauty of the group, is everybody understands that everybody's working on it, whatever their unique situation is. And everybody is supportive of everybody trying to make progress. And we're all speaking the same language, because we all talk about things like awkward pauses and clutter thresholds and no mess decluttering and take it there now and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we would love, love, love to have you in there. Okay. Oh, I love this question. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. This is going to sound so lame, she says, but I still have the photo thank you cards that I intended to send out after my wedding 5 years ago. I wrote on a few, but never mailed them. The huge box of cards is sitting on my dresser, staring at me every day. I feel so bad. I need permission to just throw them away at this point. It would be weird to send them now, right? First of all, I just want to say that I feel your pain, because actually, and I can say this because my mother-in-law's passed away, and we ended up with a great relationship, like a really, really fantastic relationship. But it was very rocky in the beginning. And a lot of that was due to thank you cards and me not doing things the way she thought they should be done. Not that she was telling me how she thought they should be done, and on the timeline that she thought they should be done on. Not that she was telling me the timeline that she thought they should be done on. Anyway, so it was actually, I have a lot of thank you card trauma. I know I'm using that word a lot. And I acknowledge that many of you have much more legitimate trauma. But I do, I have a reaction to the thank you card thing. And it's because of that. So I totally get it. If any of you are listening and you didn't get a thank you card from my son who graduated in 2022, he wrote it, and he left about 15 of them for, we mailed most of them, and about 15 of them I was supposed to mail after he left, and I completely forgot and found them a year later. So yes, I did throw them away. Yes, I felt horrible. It was very painful. As far as sending them now, you do what you want to do. I feel your pain. And so I'm not able to be like, oh, nobody cares about, no, I know from my mother-in-law, people care. Right. But it has been 5 years. And so I think whatever helps you be done with those things is what you should do. Okay. And maybe it is to take a picture and post it on Facebook and say, I don't know what your relationships with people are or your personality is like, but, I think I might at this point with my personality be like, hey, I just want everybody to know that I am incredibly thankful for your gifts, and that these things have sat in my house for 5 years, and I have felt terrible about not having sent all those thank you notes. And I'm just telling you now, I'm incredibly thankful. And I'm also sorry that this happened, but I also have to throw these things away. And most people are going to be really understanding. Excessive honesty is a bad thing and a good thing. So anyway, I'm just going to say, if you need my permission to throw them away or send them or whatever, but get them out. Get them out of the house. Whatever it takes for you to get them out, right? Because all they're doing right now is making you feel bad. I love this question. Have I said that about everything? When do I declutter containers? I've been using your method of decluttering and making real progress. Thank you, she says in parentheses with 3 exclamation points. I have ended up with quite a few empty containers, large and small. I do have a place for them, and I had the idea that I would be using them for an upcoming move. However, I don't know if or when the move is actually going to happen. Do I just leave the containers where they are, or is there a time that I should get rid of them? How do I know when this is? Thank you. Sure, that's my answer. Here's the thing. You have a great perspective on this, right? Like, you've decluttered containers. You said you do have a place for them. And I am assuming that when you say that, because it sounds like you're speaking my language here, that you understand that having a place for these containers that you're not actually using is supposed to be a place that doesn't make life harder. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm keeping all these containers and they are piled up on top of the washing machine and dryer. And so every time I have to do laundry, I have to move all those containers and then do that. Like, that is inhibiting. It is making it harder to live your actual right now life, right? So because you said, I do have a place for them, I assume that means a place where they're allowed to be, right? So if you have a place, you can absolutely keep them. But the fact that you're asking me and you acknowledge, I don't know if or when this move that I thought I was keeping them for was going to happen, then get rid of them. Like, it sounds like you want to get rid of them. So get rid of them. But also, if you have a place for them, you don't have to, right? And so many times, like this, and I think maybe that's that part of my personality where I'm like, I don't like to be told what to do, you know, and I know you're asking me what to do, but I feel like maybe a lot of us have that same personality of like, one of the reasons I don't want to declutter is because I don't want to have to get rid of something that I actually like because somebody else said it wasn't okay. Well, I was ready to get rid of this, and then you told me I should. And so, or that it was dumb to have it. And so now I actually want to keep it just because I don't have to do what you tell me to do. Right. Like that type of personality. It's a lovely quality that I've got. Right. But knowing that you can do whatever you want to do is the freedom, right? And you're doing it correctly in that it has a place. There is a place for it to go, but it's obviously bugging you. It's bugging you enough to ask. So get rid of them if you want to. I mean, here's the thing about moving. It's expensive anyway. I mean, like, it just is. It's a hassle anyway. I personally, when I moved, and this is the number one thing that I recommend, I bought a set of boxes. Did I have some containers I could probably scrounge around and use? Well, sure. But I actually wanted to buy a set of boxes because I bought a set of boxes that was for the size house that I was moving into. Actually, than what I was moving out of. The one I was moving into was bigger. But I wanted to have that set number of boxes outside of me deciding, oh, how many boxes do I need? I wanted to have that set of boxes as my container, as my limit. And doing that helped me get rid of so much more stuff because I was like, well, I can't take everything. I can only take what will fit in these boxes. And it wasn't hard. Okay. I have a podcast on this as well. But that was incredibly helpful for me. So it was I think I spent about $300 on those boxes, which is a lot of money. And I get it. And I completely acknowledge that. But it was worth it. Like, it was so worth it to help me get rid of things. Because it wasn't a matter of filling the boxes up and then going, oh no, I can't take anything else. Just knowing the boxes were limited made every single item that I picked up, which was every single item in my house, because that's what you have to do when you move, made it all look different to me. Okay. We're just collecting containers for possibly moving at some point. You know, that's different because it's not this defined amount of boxes that you are giving yourself a limit on how much you can take. So really, it's whatever you want to do. But if it's bothering you, yeah, get rid of them because, you can also often ask for boxes. And a lot of times people want to give you boxes, especially in this day and age of ordering things online. A lot of people have a lot of boxes. And so if you ask for boxes, you're probably going to be able to get some from people for moving. So, okay. I hope that was helpful. If you would like to ask a question, in case I do actually do these once a month, and then also I can't guarantee where I will answer what questions, but also to be answered over on my live Q&A on YouTube each week. On Tuesdays, go to askdanakWhite.com. And since we talked about Patreon, don't forget, if you'd like to join us over on Patreon, go to patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean. All right. I will talk to y'all later.